This week's Nifty Gifties and F5 Live is proudly powered by the Microsoft Store. Whether you're looking for a new laptop, a tablet, desperately seeking an Xbox, new games, and a whole lot more, you can get them at the Microsoft Store. And remember that current students, faculty, parents, and active military can save up to 10% on almost everything. And to find out what products are available, any deals that are going on, and of course, more about the discount, you can go to f5live.tv/Microsoft. All right. We have talked over the last couple of years about the growing trend towards and then backlash against facial identification. There's that company whose name I can never remember. Oh no. And it's here too, right? I know it. Clearview AI. I always get confused with Clearwire, that was the WiMAX provider. Clearview AI that the law enforcement was using. A lot of people came out and said the government shouldn't be using facial identification. It's a violation of all kinds of things. Well, for those who are looking for a fight, have I got some news for you. If you want to interact with any of the IRS systems online starting, I believe, this summer, you will have to go through a facial identification system called ID.me. Was that it? ID.me. This is a system that is used in other parts of the country. I think there are 12 states currently who use it as part of their welfare program. But this will be the first time that non-federal government employees will be required to use the ID.me system. As you might expect, there's been backlash against this because while it theoretically rolls out in the summer, there's been a lot of questions about whether it's going to be required for filing taxes, because it's going to be the IRS has said it will be required for paying taxes, but whether or not it'll be required for filing your annual reports and stuff is, to me, currently unknown. They may have clarified since I wrote this, but hopefully it won't be required for this year, and we've got some time to talk about it and not, 2.5 months. So there's a lot of concern about it. Every time somebody includes any kind of biometric thing, whether it be the fingerprint readers at Disney or facial recognition or facial identification with law enforcement, people absolutely freak out, as we've talked about, right, Abram?
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, there's been a lot of identity theft and impersonation in tax filing. Haven't there been a lot of situations where folks will file their tax return before you do, and then they will change the address or something so the refund comes to them, not you?
Yep. Yes, unfortunately, the most prominent ring that has been involved in this keeps coming from Tampa. But
so I mean, I can see why you might want to do that. On the other hand, though, I don't understand how you couldn't spoof this. Like, I don't know, I don't understand the technology well enough, but if you're saying that you want me to be online, right? Could I not just replace the feed of my webcam with some type of photo of the face of the person I want to impersonate?
absolutely, because whatever you guys are seeing on the stream right now, if you're watching live, I can do all of this as a webcam. I can convince my computer that the whole show is a webcam.
Right.
So I can feed anything to this ID.me company as a webcam feed.
Right. So I'd like to see some proof that they're making sure that I mean, I bet you it can be spoofed, right? Like, how are they going to prove that you're doing a live webcam view of your face versus um, versus just any video or still that you got of the person that you want to impersonate.
Right.
So I don't like.
Unless you're going to be playing
I
Simon Says. Put your right hand
oh
up.
right.
Put
That's a new
your.
captcha for that's a new captcha for you, right? I mean,
It's
but
a lot of the
but
dating sites, the way they do profile verification to get the little blue check mark on your profile is they say, all right, you have to put your right hand on top of your head and your left, touch your nose with your left hand and take a picture. Now, taking the picture is the complicated part, but that's legitimately how the dating profiles do verification.
hmm, interesting. I mean it's difficult, right? Because if somebody really wants to spoof something, they can. And I mean like the incentive for an individual to, I don't know, spoof their identity, to go through extraordinary stuff to spoof their identity for a dating site probably isn't as great as to run a ring where they're going to like file to get people's tax returns sent to them.
Right.
So I mean, if there's money behind it, which there is, that folks are going to figure out a way to fool this, which means
Yeah.
that it's useless.
Absolutely.
So
It's
I don't.
it's a lot of work for possibly little return. As we know, we had a whole segment a couple of weeks ago at the end of last year about the dating app scams that are going on. And the
Right.
thing I can tell you is all of the profiles that we have encountered, that we have interacted with, and I've been talking with more people. I believe there's somebody in chat right now who also has been interacting with these people. They're almost always verified profiles.
Right. So, I don't, I mean, I understand the need, why they would want to have a higher level of security, but I'd like to have be convinced that this actually works,
Yeah.
because it sounds like something that would be fairly easy to spoof. I mean, haven't people spoofed Windows Hello by holding a photo to it, or something like that? I mean, I guess that's why you need an IR camera, but at least there it's built into the OS. So the OS, it's hard. It's probably harder to fool the OS than it is to fool a website,
Right.
because you could easily do something to your browser to fool the browser or to
Right.
fool the website.
There's several
So
layers of abstraction between your camera and the website versus Windows Hello. There's no layers of abstraction. It's just the webcam and the operating system.
right, like I don't know how you would program Windows Hello to use something that's not a real webcam, to use a fake feed,
Right.
but your browser, I'm sure you can. So yeah, it's I don't know. I I'd like to see an explanation for why this for how this would actually help, because if you're only eliminating the most obvious suspects, but you're not, because I mean, I don't know what the stated purpose of this is, but the stated purpose is dealing with people filing fraudulent returns.
Right.
Then folks
Which it
who,
is.
criminals who are doing these types of frauds will easily figure out a workaround.
Right.
So
It seems like this only clears the lowest of the low-hanging fruit. The guy who's going to try and file his ex-girlfriend's tax return and steal her $400 return. This
right,
is this is not the rings of people who manage to get every retiree in a retirement home complex in one swoop.
right, yeah, exactly. So also, what I'd like to know is how they're going to know that it's like, I mean, I don't know. I'm not very familiar with ID Me. So how does ID Me know that you are who you say you are when you first set it up?
Uh, So you have to include. That's a good question. You have to include. You have to upload a valid government ID, a utility bill with the same name on it, and then this selfie. So it's very similar to for anybody who's been through the process of Clear, the vaccine, the proof of vaccine app. It's very similar to that, and for all we know, just as difficult to do, because I can tell you, I never got it to work and I gave up, especially since we canceled on CES. I was chatting with their support and everything. I never got it to work. Alante got it to work first try. But then
Damn.
so other organizations use a similar process. Uber is a good example. Uber drivers have to do this thing where you have to line your head up in the little bubble just right to take a picture that's then somehow compared with the ID, the driver's license that you submitted, which is also connected with the insurance, the car insurance that you have. So there's your 3 points, just like this, right? Except it's car insurance instead of any utility bill. And it is complicated for techies to be able to accomplish. Because it's like, no, that doesn't look like a person, try again. And Alante saying in the chat, every couple of days when you're driving, you have to go through this process of re-verifying that you're a human being, and that you are the same human being. It's fascinating and horrible because it really doesn't work well. And so, if even if this works perfectly, which of course it won't, because it's been contracted by the government. But let's assume that it works flawlessly every time. There are still going to be people who can't make it work, and we all know that, right? Your mother gets thrown off by pop-ups in the App Store.
But she wouldn't be logging onto the IRS website anyway.
Right, but my mom might if she's filing taxes online, and I guarantee she'll be stumbled in the same place, and that's not going to be great.
Yeah, well, here's an interesting question. Like, when I use an accountant to do my taxes, they file the taxes online while we're there, right? After we're done. Would this then prevent an accountant from filing?
No, your accountant should have different access. Having spent a lot of time with the IRS, because I worked on an IRS integration project a number of years ago, I know that professionals have different access to the IRS systems, and that the people who are authorized to act as tax accountants have gone through a screening process where they are able to validate that you're you.
Okay.
On their certification.
That makes sense, because I could definitely see, like, it's I don't know how common I think it's pretty rare today for people to actually have to, like, take their tax return as paper and mail it. I think,
Probably.
if you go to a tax professional, they're still submitting it online.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see how all of this stuff works out. It does not make me happy, and I'll tell you, it might be it might end up being a big boon for H&R Block as people try to avoid this and go see a tax professional instead, because it's worth the $39 or whatever to deal with a human being and not do this. I don't know.
Yep.
So obviously we'll see exactly what this looks like. We'll find out if this is going to be required for this tax season. They said summer, so we'll see. But who knows? Hello, YouTube. Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this episode of F5 Live Refreshing Technology. If you did, please subscribe to the channel down below, and of course hit the notification bell because we know that subscriptions don't mean much on YouTube anymore. If you've got topics that you'd like us to talk about in the future, please comment them down below. And if you'd like to not follow us on YouTube, there's lots of ways that you can follow along with our content by going to plughitslive.com/subscribe. There you'll see all of our shows and all of the ways that you can watch, listen, and follow along.